Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan 2, the rematch, takes place this weekend in the co-main event of UFC 273, Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie, and I can't wait for this bantamweight bout. I've been looking forward to this one for a very long time. I believe it's now a year in the making since we saw that first fight, and we need to correct the mistake in the bantamweight division that was that first fight, where Aljamain Sterling was handed the bantamweight world championship after Petr Yan, who was on his way to a pretty clear-cut victory in my opinion. It was all downhill for Aljamain Sterling. He looked like he was about to get finished, and he gets hit with an illegal knee and gifted the bantamweight world championship. We need to correct the mistake that was made a year ago, and I don't just mean Petr Yan going in there and beating Aljamain Sterling would correct the mistake. I mean, whoever wins this one, if they win it clearly, without any controversy whatsoever, it would be a correction of the mistake. If Aljamain Sterling goes out there and just beats Petr Yan, that's a correction of the mistake. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. We need to have this fight happen. So fingers crossed it does take place this weekend. I hope I haven't just jinxed it or anything like that, because I'm really looking forward to this one. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, the interim champion of the bantamweight division, Petr Yan, and the disputed champion of the world, Aljamain Sterling. I almost said undisputed there, but let's be real, he's maybe the first disputed champion in UFC history, because, you know, people kind of know that Petr Yan is the better fighter out of the two of them, but I do want to say this, because a lot of people are getting carried away in the comment sections saying, cool, Yan by whatever he wants. Cool, Yan by absolute decimation. Cool, Yan's gonna absolutely maul you, dude. Yan didn't maul him in the first fight, and if Aljamain Sterling genuinely was quite injured going into that first fight, he stands a bit better of a chance, and it's going to be a more interesting contest here. It was a very competitive matchup. Sure, Petr Yan looked like he was definitely going to win. If I had to reverse time before that knee landed and place a bet just before that knee landed, I would assume that either Petr Yan was about to TKO finish him in the 4th round, or TKO finish him in the 5th round. However, in the first round, Aljo was piecing him up. Now, I do understand that Petr Yan kind of was allowing Aljamain Sterling to piece him up in a way, because he knew that there's no way Aljo can keep this pace. I have no idea why he's throwing so many shots over and over and over again. He's going to gas out eventually, and then I'll have my fun with him. He did the same thing with Corey Sandhagen. I was thinking after the first round, why is he letting Corey Sandhagen just throw so many shots at him? And then all of a sudden, as the rounds go on, you start to realize why he does it. He's making reads, he's downloading information, and then he's going into like kill mode as the rounds go on, and he eventually finishes his opponent or starts beating him up as the fight goes on into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. However, it's a very close fight. I'm really looking forward to this contest, and I believe that Petr Yan is going to win a razor-close decision win against Aljamain Sterling, 48-47. I don't see a finish happening in this fight. I see Petr Yan having big moments where maybe it looks like he's going to get a finish, but Aljamain Sterling is a tough guy, and I believe he's going to dial back the volume a little bit, and I think that's going to allow him to survive into the later rounds a little bit more than he did in the first fight, where he used so much volume early on and so much energy early on that he just had no energy for the rest of the fight, and Aljamain Sterling just started to gas out, break down, and people say, you know, he was just trying to... He even says this himself, like he was on his knees and he shouldn't have been hit with the illegal knee. In my opinion, Aljamain Sterling was praying that Petr Yan would hit him with an illegal knee. He's on his knees in front of Petr Yan. If you're ever on your knees in front of an opponent, it's almost on you a bit. You shouldn't be there. That's not a position that you should be allowed to consider yourself safe in. It's one of the most annoying rules, in my opinion, in MMA, that the only time that you're safe from damage in MMA is if you're on your knees in front of your opponent. The most emasculating position you can ever imagine being is on your knees in front of another man. That's the most disgraceful position a man can ever put himself in. On his knees in front of another man. But it's the only position in MMA where you're rewarded with invulnerability for some bizarre reason. I don't understand the rule, but I understand, you know, maybe the kicks to a grounded opponent are a little bit too damaging, and knees to the face of a grounded opponent are a little bit too damaging, and all that kind of stuff. I understand why it's a rule. I just wish the visual of it wasn't rewarded. You know what I mean? Oh, you're on your knees in front of another man. You should be rewarded for this action. I don't think that should be the case, but I'm really looking forward to this matchup. And I think Petr Yan's just going to be able to find those shots a little bit quicker. I think maybe Aljamain Sterling will outland Petr Yan in this contest. I'm not really against that idea, but I think Petr Yan's going to land a way more meaningful shots, and I think he's going to be dropping Aljamain Sterling and putting him in real damaging positions where he can unload with ground and pound in certain rounds of this fight to where he can secure those rounds on the scorecards. But I don't mind the idea of Aljamain Sterling potentially going out there and outlanding Petr Yan. I really don't. Now, I don't think you can actually pick Aljamain Sterling. You know, there's certain underdog picks where you can make an argument for it, but in this one, you know, we've seen the striking. When Yan wants to, he can really easily win the striking battles between the pair of them, unless Aljamain Sterling is throwing like 80 shots around or something like that, like he was doing in the first fight. It might have even been more than that, in all honesty. So when Petr Yan is at a similar volume level of striking with his opponent, he will win the striking battle. I believe Corey Sandhagen is a better striker than Aljamain Sterling, and Petr Yan outstruck Corey Sandhagen and landed more effective strikes to win himself a decision there. And I also believe that he's arguably a better grappler than Aljamain Sterling. We saw that in the first fight. I don't think you can make an argument, other than the fact that maybe you don't agree with the odds and you're looking for a Hail Mary underdog win, that Aljamain Sterling can go in there and win this fight. And not only can you not make that argument based on the first fight, I don't think you can make that argument based on mentality. I know I mentioned earlier that maybe I'm worried about Petr Yan going in there and overlooking Aljamain Sterling, but Aljo going into this matchup, there is so much on the line for him. If he does not perform well, even in a loss, he will be memed for life after this matchup. And he is very aware of that. And I feel like there's a little bit of delusion in his camp, and it's a little bit of a cry for help. I just watched the first Embedded episode, and I heard him say in the Embedded episode, as he's eating salad and stuff with Ali Quinter and Marab, you know, it's almost like that first fight never even happened, right? Right, guys? Guys? It's almost like it never even happened, right? Like, there's a little bit of a delusion with Aljamain Sterling in the build up to this matchup. And it's going to really crush him on fight night, I think. Mentally. When he's about to walk out, Petr Yan, in his mind right now in his career, is undefeated. Essentially, okay? He beat Magomedov earlier in his career. It shouldn't have been a win to Magomedov, in my opinion. I thought he won that fight quite clearly. I think his name was Magomedov anyway, but either way. We move on to the other matchup with Aljamain Sterling on his loss, on his record. Arguably, he wins that one as well. So I believe Petr Yan in his mind is bulletproof on the fact that he's arguably 18-0 as a pro fighter. He even redeemed his loss to Magomedov early in his career as well. So that would reinforce that opinion as well. So if he can win this rematch against Aljo, I would consider him a 19-0 pro fighter, essentially. And I think Yan's going to go in there with that mentality. Plus, he's from Siberia, and he's Russian in general, beyond just being from that certain specific area of Siberia. So he's going to have that natural lizard brain of just being completely stoic and having no fear in there whatsoever, because he's literally a little robot out there at times, from what I've seen. He has no emotions in fight whatsoever. In fact, the only time he seems to show any emotion in a contest is if he's like knocked down an opponent, and then that's the only time I've seen him smile. You can look at pictures of Petr Yan with his family around him on Christmas. I think there's actually a meme of this online somewhere, where Yan's around his family members at Christmas, and he's just dead-faced, no happiness whatsoever. And then there's another picture of him afterwards with Uriah Faber's corpse on the fucking canvas, just seizing up, and then Yan's over him like really happy with what he's done. Like, the only time he shows positive emotion is when he's inflicting pain on others. And I just don't think Aljo's going to have that same mindset going into this contest. And I think if things start looking bad for Yan early on, I think he can grit through it. And he knows that, okay, eventually this is going to stop. I'm going to start to find my timing. I'm going to start to have my success as the rounds go on. If Aljo starts to have a little bit of a negative first few rounds, I don't know if he has the same mindset of, it's okay, it'll get better for me, because it's not going to get better for you. Okay? I think Yan's got the mental advantage. I think on paper, Yan is the better fighter. I think he showed that he's at least equal to that of a grappler of Aljamain Sterling. Even if Aljo's improved in grappling, I think it would still match up to Yan being even to him. I mean, Aljo got one takedown in the fight. Yan got right back up to his feet and got out of it pretty quickly. The only time we've really seen Yan taken down in a fight is against Sandhagen a couple of times, and that's because he, didn't expect it whatsoever. So maybe if I'm Aljo, the game plan should be, and this is what I think Aljo's game plan is going to be, to go out there at a much lower pace, pick your shots a little bit better, front teeps to the body, front kicks to the body, front kicks to the face, couple of jump knees here and there when Yan starts to pressure you a little bit, maybe to alleviate some of that pressure and remind him that you can still KO him with one of those shots, because he landed a couple of good knees in the first fight. Sandhagen actually landed a couple of good knees on Petr Yan as well. A lot of opponents seem to go for the knees against Yan because he has that real tight style and he hunches down whenever you throw something at him, so there is a chance that he will duck down into those shots. But I think Aljamain Sterling's going to dial back the volume. He says he's going to smother Yan against a cage. He's not going to do that after the strength difference that I witnessed in the first fight. Aljo looks like he's got at least 5 pounds on Petr Yan, and he looks way more muscled up as a guy. Like, his muscles look a lot better than Petr Yan's do, aesthetically at least. We just saw that video of him out in his camp when he just got out of the sauna. He looks like a fucking bodybuilder ready for his moment on stage at Mr. Olympia, you know? But Petr Yan just seems to have that different strength. And I don't think Aljo's going to be out there pushing him against a cage and smothering him. I don't think he's going to be out grappling him in general. So I think that what Aljo needs to do is be an opportunist fighter out there. Slow down the volume, and I think this is what he's going to do. Slow down the volume so you can last 5 rounds, land your front kicks to the body, land some jabs, try and keep him at range. You've got a bit of a reach advantage here. I believe it's a 4-inch reach advantage that he has over Petr Yan. Petr Yan's at 67 inches of reach, and Aljamain Sterling's at 71 inches of reach. They're a similar height. That's going to be a favour for Aljamain Sterling. But I think if he does that, and he does slow things down and try to surprise Yan with his grappling, because that's something I think could work here. If Aljo just, volume dials it back a bit, picks his shots a little bit better, and goes for surprise takedowns against Petr Yan and just tries to immediately take the back against him or something like that, rather than trying to grind him against a cage and stuff like he was in the first fight, maybe he could have the element of surprise, and that would change the playing field where Yan is just naturally better than him by having that surprise factor and leaving it to chance more than just what will be will be. You know what I mean? So I think Aljo's going to dial it back, look to surprise Yan a little bit more. But I think if he dials it back, Yan's going to be dropping him in this fight. Yan's going to be landing more effective shots in this fight. So I think it's going to go to a decision. I'm going to call a 49-46 for Petr Yan. I think one of the rounds is going to be razor close. The first round, I think, again, is going to go Aljamain Sterling's way. Even if you gave the first round of the first fight to Petr Yan. I think this fight, the first round's going to go to Aljamain Sterling again. Yan's a pretty slow starter. I think he's lost the first round in a lot of his contests, at least in the bantamweight division, the majority of the contests, because he's just seeing what his opponent has for him. So I think Aljo wins the first round. There's a close second round that maybe could go either way. Yan has the more effective strikes. Aljo lands more of them. Then I think 3, 4, and 5 is going to get increasingly worse for Aljamain Sterling. Yan wins the third minorly. Yan wins the fourth clearly. Beat down in the fifth. 49-46, maybe 48-47 if Aljo does a bit better in the third round. But I can see Aljo outlanding him in some of those rounds, but I just think Yan's going to be dropping him, hurting him to the body, throwing him down at the end of the round and landing a couple of good ground and pound shots to secure the round for himself. That kind of stuff is what's going to help Petr Yan here. I just don't see Aljo finishing him, and if he can't finish him, I definitely don't see him lasting 5 rounds against Yan and winning. But I think it's a very close fight. It's a very close fight, extremely close, and it was a close fight the first time. It was not a one-sided beatdown for Yan, where he accidentally threw an illegal knee at the end and Aljo got the win because of it. Aljo was doing good. But I think in order to do good, he has to fight like a spastic and just go all volume against Yan and not let him have an inch. And I think if he doesn't do that, that benefits Yan. So it's like a double-edged sword for him. Does he go hard early on and win those exchanges because he needs to in order to win those exchanges and then gas out later in the fight? Or does he go softer early on, save his energy, but give more opportunities for Yan to find his timing and land those bigger shots that are going to put him down. I just don't see a way Aljo wins. But I get why people are picking him. He shouldn't be as big of an underdog as he is. But Yan wins this matchup. And also, Aljo's 32. Yan's still 29. And also, Yan's been pretty active. Aljo hasn't fought in a year. Aljo has not fought in a year. And this is a big deal I want to mention at the end of this video. Yan left the Aljo fight, went straight back to the gym, okay? Got back to training, all right? Prepared himself for a second Aljo fight. Ended up being Corey Sandhagen like 6 weeks out of the fight. It was a real like quick pull out from Aljamain Sterling because of his neck injury. I think he like wasn't even ready to officially sign it in the first place. They just did that thing where they make a fight announcement when it's not really signed yet to kind of pressure the fighters into signing it anyway. So he didn't even show up to the fight. Or didn't even like want to commit to the fight in the first place. Sandhagen steps in. Yan's had that full training camp. No injuries there. Get right back into the gym. Get training again. I believe this was originally booked in March anyway. So Yan was ready for March, not let alone April. Training. Getting better. No injuries. Back into a training camp against Aljamain Sterling for this rematch here. Aljamain Sterling has been out for a year. Yan has been out for 6 months. Pretty active as far as champions go. Aljo's been out for a year. And Aljo has been out for a year, injured, not being able to train. At 32. You want to be getting your training in now, if anything. And Yan has been training the whole time. At 29. At good gyms. Tiger Muay Thai. ATT. Like, he's been going to great gyms. Getting good training, had a warm-up match for this one in the meantime, essentially against Corey Sandhagen, who I believe was a nightmare matchup for him, and I was worried that he might lose to him, even though I picked him to win a very close decision, or maybe like a late TKO or something. But yeah, I just don't think this is good for Aljo. He's been injured. Yan's been evolving. I think we're going to see a better Yan, but I think Aljo's going to give it his all, and I think the result of this fight is going to be Yan's just a different level. Yan's a savage. Yan's a beast. He won the fight again. The bantamweight division is restored to the order that it once was in. But Aljo's fucking... You got to give respect to Aljo. I think that's what a lot of people are going to do. Praise Yan, but respect to Aljo. He showed up and fought a great fight. He's clearly one of the best bantamweights in the world. I don't think we leave this with, lol, the clown got butchered. You know what I mean? I don't think that's what it's going to be. Aljo the clown emojis got butchered again. Destroyed. Easy work for Yan. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see Yan winning, but respect to Aljo. He proved that he's a legit elite level fighter in the UFC. But we'll see how it goes, man. It would annoy me if Aljo wins. Especially if he doesn't dominate. Like, if he just, like, randomly gets to back and chokes him out after losing. Or randomly, like, spinning back fist KOs Yan, which has happened before in his career, by the way, in the amateur scene. Yan can be KO'd, guys. And it happens against unorthodox techniques. Aljo does throw unorthodox techniques. He's the funk master for a reason. And he has got some spinning back fist knockdowns, I believe, against Jimmy Rivera early in his career. So if Aljo does do some fucking fluky shit, I will be pissed off. But if he wins outright, you got to give respect. So I hope Yan wins. I think he's going to win. And sorry, Aljo. It's not going to go well. But I think he's going to have a good fight. 49-46 on 2 scorecards. 48-47 on another scorecard. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Winner takes on TJ Dillashaw. Hopefully on a real quick turnaround as well. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.